This is the first of a series of webinars that we will have around value, identifying value and delivering value. 60 minutes in total, it is very, very little to talk about this, to even start a dialogue about this. I see it as a dialogue, so we'll start with introducing the guys. So let's start with first in order on the slide is Nicholas. Nicholas, can you tell something about you?
Yeah, no, I've worked in the industry for a long time, mainly capital markets, financial risk, and valuation. And I come from a technology background.
Okay, a little bit also about the background of your company, the company that you are now currently.
We're working for Numerics. We do valuation models from front office to risk side of things. We're kind of like best in class in terms with some serious mathematicians working for us. We have some of the leading mathematicians in this financial sector of the world working for Numerics. And so we have a lot of companies, banks, auditors, they come to us to verify their valuations of portfolios and so on in the industry.
So very complex matters. Just let me add something about Nick. Nick is the guy that you call when you want to make something that is working, but you want to get it to a totally different level. So he's making straight all the things that can work a little bit better than they are today. They are working well. He's the guy that brings you to a different level. So let's move to Gilbert. Gilbert, can you tell
everyone. Hi, good afternoon, Michele. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, first and foremost, thank you for the invite. Very excited to be here. And yes, I'm Gilbert. I've been almost 5 years now working at Socials.com. I'm gonna cover a bit Socials.com, so I leave Chili's for Mark, right? So we don't kind of be repetitive. Yeah. But basically, we've kind of started this new venture a couple of years ago, where we've created a new digital asset, which we call fan tokens. I'm very blessed and lucky, to be fair, because I've always been a sports fan since I've been very, very young. So I'm very lucky to work in an environment where we can kind of embrace technology and sports, right? So we work with some big IP like Manchester City, FC Barcelona, Juventus, AC Milan, Aston Martin, and many others. We have, I believe, now 80 plus fan token partners on our platform. We're based on blockchain technology, which I'll let kind of Mark get into a little bit more detail about that. And yes, as kind of leading the marketing team, I've basically joined the team very early when we were a very, very small team of 1-2 people. We're now around 60 in marketing. And yeah, we're still trying to figure it all out. So yes, we can and will tell you more about kind of our experience, but I'm also very interested to hear back kind of from the people in the session as well, right?
So let me add something about Gilbert. Gilbert is the guy that is trying, they are successful at that, to build a completely new market. Before these guys, this market didn't exist. Yes, the crypto market exists, but what they are doing is completely new. So building service, thinking about services, building services, marketing services, engaging with people in a market that didn't exist is not a trivial thing. So he's the guy behind all the communication and engagement related to this company. So not an easy task indeed. And then last but not least, the Dutch, the one and only Mark. Please go.
Thanks, Michele, for the introduction. So I'm a product guy. I'm a huge fan of Scrum. Have implemented in a number of organizations now. I've joined Socials and Chili's about 2 years ago, and I'm obviously working at the same company as Gilbert. On top of Socials.com, we also run a crypto exchange called Chili's X, which is a crypto-to-crypto exchange powering a lot of the other products, and is also available to in a B2B setup through APIs and directly to traders on the web and mobile platform. On top of that, we run everything off our own blockchain, Chili's chain, which we have relatively recently opened up for other interested parties to also start developing on. Technologically speaking, we're effectively in an Ethereum chain, so we have a lot of the same tools and ways of working. What differentiates us really is that we are the sports blockchain, and that through our chain, developers can get access to the IP of a lot of our partners and start to work on partnerships with brands which otherwise they would probably not be able to reach out to. I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, so I have to add something also about Mark. Mark is the most stubborn, fantastic. I'm just joking. We have a good relationship. That's why I joke with him. It's not true that he's stubborn. He's the guy that without his qualities and leadership, most probably you will not see a lot about the products and services that have been delivered from a company. So he is the guy behind all the other guys that are thinking about new services and new products and making them possible. So he's the product guy, while Gilbert is the let's bring this product, connect this product to the masses. So the combination of the two in identifying and delivering value is extremely interesting. So let's move forward and see how we can. By the way, and me, I would say I'm the useless agile coach. You know, agile coach sometimes are useful, sometimes are useless. I say the useless agile coach because I think with a little bit of smartness you can do it by yourself. But I'm here to see what is the use of an agile coach with experience in these processes. Let's move to the next slide. So we are looking. We don't need to read it. We are looking at how to identify value. And I would like to run this video. Alex, can you run the video for us? And up to, I like our strategy a lot. I know that video, every single word of that video.
It seems like we need to make some jokes about technical issues.
Yes. Yeah. Is it a Microsoft platform? No,
no, it's just being
Yes, LinkedIn, by the way, is Microsoft. Joking, I love Microsoft, but the whole thing is around this video. Let's see, we tried a little bit.
It's playing for a second. I'm not sure why it's 1 second, please.
We tried it and it worked before, so we prepared.
Yeah. We did this before the thing started, right? And then it was working. So is it playing, Alex, or not?
It may sell very well or not. We have our strategy. We've got great Windows mobile devices in the market.
Okay, Michele, was that?
No, you should start from the beginning. I didn't saw it from the beginning.
All right, so it up.
View about the iPhone and the Zune, if I may. The Zune was getting some traction, then Steve Jobs goes to Macworld and he pulls out this iPhone. What was your first reaction when you saw that?
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine. Now, it may sell very well or not. We have our strategy. We've got great Windows mobile devices in the market today. You can get a Motorola Q phone now for $99. It's a very capable machine. It'll do music. It'll do internet. It'll do email. It'll do instant messaging. So I kind of look at that and I say, well, I like our strategy. I like it a lot.
Fantastic.
How do you
So let's go to the slides. So let's analyze it. I think a lot of you have watched this video. And question for Gilbert, Nicholas, and Mark. What do you think about that?
Gilbert or Mark? Sorry.
You're gonna go.
One of the three.
I'm gonna let you, Mark, take this one.
I mean, clearly the Zune made it to Guardians of the Galaxy 2. The iPhone did not, so they won, right? It's very clear cut. I mean, I remember this coming out back in the day. I was actually working at Vodafone back then, and I know that one of our the Vodafone group director that was responsible for the purchasing, he actually walked out of the meeting with Steve Jobs and cursed a little bit, saying that he was just not going to pay what Apple was asking. And clearly, Apple found a really nice niche of focusing on user experience and a number of other things where Microsoft had completely missed the boat. I think a lot of this has to do with the mindset of Microsoft back in the day, a unwillingness to go and basically challenge their own business model, which takes a lot of courage. And I'm also quite sure that there were actually quite a lot of people at Microsoft that did get it and were reporting it, but the powers that be were just steering on the governing course.
Fantastic. Gilbert or Nick, do you have something that around this?
Yeah, I mean, I think Motorola were producing the same thing that at the time was the industry standard. The BlackBerry, right? They were just trying to beat the BlackBerry, producing the same thing, while Apple actually innovated and brought out something completely new, and they didn't understand it. They didn't get it.
Yeah.
But the public did, and they got the the usability factor and so on, and so it just then became a huge success, right? The rest is history, as they say.
Gilbert.
Yeah, if I may add my 2 cents, I think kind of listening to this clip, in reality, of course, looking at it, it looks like almost ridiculous right now, right? And we almost all laugh at it. But let's face it, we've all been there, where we all felt where kind of our strategy made more sense at the time. Of course, we're in a bit of a different spot because today our competitive landscape is different in our industry, right? So in our sector, it's completely different because we are the first, and in all marketing books, kind of there is the law of being first, right? And there's a lot of difficulties that come with that. Of course, being more into head-to-head with competition kind of it changes things. But I think it introduces, to be fair, the subject of value very well, because I think there are different types of value. There's different perceptions of value. And at times internally we have a perception which is completely either distorted, or we are in our own echo chamber kind of discussing certain things, thinking that we got it all right. But in reality, the ones that actually have a better ear of what the market is telling them typically get it better. And that's, I think, it's the undeniable truth.
Absolutely. It is difficult. We are laughing at it, but honestly, it is like looking into the future or looking around you. It's a totally different mindset and I can understand him in his position at that time. It was not easy. Let's see look, I always struggled to understand what was the difference between the iPhone and the Motorola Q. And I went to look for it, and also what were the reviews of the two different phones. So it is a kind of BlackBerry-like phone, very cheap. It had a keyboard, but it was.
I loved BlackBerry, by the way.
I know, but BlackBerry could do emails. These things that the guy says, Balmer says it does email, it does music, it does, and I also look at the way he uses the word. It does music, it does internet, it does email. But it does it very badly, because one of the things that the iPhone first generation did very well was precisely internet and emails. And the experience was much better. Nick or Nick or Mark?
I think you can tell, just look at the summary of what's been written here. And you can see that the Motorola Q, it was just negative all the way across, really, whilst the iPhone struck a from the reviewer's point of view, the value that they saw. They criticized some of the missing features, but they put it in a positive way, I thought, right? It's still, and so it gives you the impression of value. It gives you, hey, this is the thing I want, right? And yeah, it's easy to see in retrospect, I think, to Gilbert's point. I don't understand crypto. Gilbert's in there. To me, it maybe in 5 or 10 years time, I'll be like the guy on the video. I should have been with Gilbert. Who knows?
Absolutely, yes. Not understanding that thing is not being able to see that world. That's a good point.
It's not seeing it, not seeing why would I want to pay $500 for this, right?
Absolutely, and to pay even more than $500, you were saying.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off, Nick, but I think you made a very good observation, kind of when it comes to the copy that these reviewers are using. I think the marketing team at the time kind of really hit it on the nail, right? Because they are using exactly the keywords that Apple. Now, of course, maybe I'm taking a bit more of a marketing, branding, kind of romantic side of it, but it's where I'm coming from. But they're using the word stunning, sleek, innovative, like superb, easy to use, built, so extremely simple. So I think these are all the words, all the keywords that a brand like Apple wants to be associated with, and kind of that's exactly that's the winning card.
Yeah, you see it, stunning versus well built. Good observation. I've read this many times and I will not see it. That is the capacity to see values in the words. And by the way, the other thing is that they were delivering that value. It was a stunning thing. I remember the first time that I saw an iPhone 3, and I didn't even know that the person that was showing me the screen of her phone was showing me an Apple. And I said, okay, what kind of phone do you have that has such a nice screen? And then I saw it was an Apple. So that was the kind of perception that you get the first time that you see an Apple phone versus the other phones. So that was the quality that they were used to build their things. Let's move to the next slide. We have also the other video. Can you show this one too? I will tell you when we can stop it. Microsoft is like a religion that is more or less around that point.
Yes, let me just add this to the stage. Let me know when you can see it, please.
Differently, of course. Like what? Come on, Charlie. I probably would have started us doing hardware earlier so that we could have been more effective in the phone business.
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of like an IQ test. Should Microsoft have a position in the phone business?
Yes.
The two most profitable companies. We were the number one most profitable company in our business for a long time.
Right.
Two guys have passed us, and they both did it by making phones, Apple and Samsung. So, I mean, I don't think the software was the right play there, but the two most profitable companies now in our business are Apple, Samsung, Microsoft.
Right.
For years, it was Microsoft and some other guys.
Yeah.
So, do I wish we had done that sooner? Of course I do.
Then why didn't you?
When the name of your company is Microsoft and your formula works, our formula was working. We were software guys. Bill Gates told Paul Allen when Paul first wanted to do hardware back in the 70s, we were software guys. So for us, it was kind of a religious transformation. And you could say we always had a little hardware. We had a mouse. We did the Xbox.
But the religious transformation. Back to the song.
This is super interesting, right? So here he's saying that they were really religious about certain things, but at the end of the day, Apple was as well. They had their iPod business, and but the difference was, I think, between the companies is that Apple, well, there were more, but Apple did the proper SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and recognized the threats. At some point, someone was going to do a half-decent phone that could do music, and then why the hell would you go buy a separate iPod? So they actively took the decision to go and build a new product that was going to completely kill an existing product of theirs, and made a success out of it.
But I like the comment of Damian in the. There are two comments that are great. Damian and Kalien. One is underestimating the competition and what will come next in the market. But Damian says classic: concentrate on what made you successful and keep redoing it. At that time, if you look at Microsoft earnings, they were the highest in the history of Microsoft. And they were earning all that money, not even with Microsoft Windows, but with the Office suite. So we were very successful. We were software guys. And so there is that non-ability of seeing what is around you. And that if you stay in that world, they didn't go bankrupt. They are not bankrupt. They are still a company that earns a lot of money, but they completely missed what was happening in parallel to them. So, and still he cannot see, in my opinion, then I will move, he still after many years, he cannot see that he totally missed the value that they should have delivered also to their desktop users, probably. I don't know, what do you think, Gilbert or Nick?
I mean, this is, I mean, if we start kind of debating this, most probably we'll have here till tomorrow, in the sense that I think there are many sides of the story. So first and foremost, I think we all want to be in that position, at least talking on behalf of a scale up, because today I think we've moved from a startup to a scale up. I think we'd love to be in a position where we're having these kind of difficult decisions to make, right? So we've done so well that we're actually at a juncture on whether we keep on focusing on what we know how to do best, or actually pivot to do something different. I think it was a different time as well. So our company, for example, if we had to talk about social, I think one of the characteristics of our team is that we're agile, but we're agile not just from our product perspective, but I think our mindset is very active, right? So we're very open for change. And I think what I guess Charlie is mentioning here, it makes sense, right? So for them, he mentioned the religious transformation, but basically what he's saying is that culturally and also from a skill set perspective, they didn't have the right people to actually make that shift. So there might be many arguments kind of around this, right? So was it the right thing to do if you don't have the right team for it? If you want to create value, you also have to have people internally that believe in what they're creating. So I find it kind of hard to judge the situation, because I still feel that Microsoft have a market, and I think that they do serve that market pretty well. I think that they can never be, and I think that the world needs both Apple and Microsoft. If you had to ask me, so yeah, maybe profits struggle a bit, but I think they had also their fair share, I guess.
No, I know. I like what you're saying, because in reality, we are not trying here to say Microsoft is evil and is bad and Apple.
Yes, of course.
Right. In this case, Apple could see the value. We are using it just to see what they could see something. They could understand and identify something that the guys at Microsoft could not do at the time. And why was that? Nicholas, any ideas why yeah.
I mean, this short video has many angles to it, as Gilbert says. You know, I think the religious aspect, you know, the comment about, you know, they're sort of software religion, and that also kind of strengthens the fact that all they really saw was that other people making hardware were making more money than them. Mm-hmm. So what they did was like, let's go to hardware because we'll make more money. They weren't focused on value. They weren't focused on delivering something to the client base or what the clients wanted. They were focused on how do we compete against the Apple and the other people. So I think they were just completely, they weren't focused on value. They were just focused on monetary revenue. And then for them, it was a very religious thing to change. Well, funny enough, Apple were doing software. They started in the hardware, right? We all know the stories, right? They started in the hardware and they went into the software because Jobs wanted a complete ecosystem. So a different approach, a completely different view on the world, and they wanted that customer success story was always part of their mantra from early on. Have they lost the way? That's a different story. But I think there's a lot of interesting angles in this video.
Yeah.
And Michele, if I may, just a final note from my side. I think they actually look at value in completely different ways as well, right? So whilst Microsoft look at it purely from a functional value perspective, I think what Apple did very well also, because they were marketers at heart, is that they looked at the emotional value. And most probably, if you had to compare the technologies back in the day, I'm not even gonna get into that debate, right, because I'm not even equipped to take it. But the likelihood is that from a functional perspective, it could be that actually Microsoft delivered better. But they've managed Apple through emotional value to kind of get closer, and that eventually the perceived value, which is what counts after all, right? So what's the customer making out of it? Then chose Apple.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, all these comments, all these opinions, all these points of view are a fantastic introduction to identifying value. The point of identifying value is both what you do, but mainly how do you think about it? What do you do with your thinking patterns? How do you change your way of thinking to identify what is most probably there in front of you and you have not yet seen it? So we are always speaking about agility, agile and agility. So to simplify it, my definition of agility is there are two key elements of agility. One, identifying value, and the other one is delivering value. The majority of guys that are focusing on agility are always focusing on delivering value. But I remember in my first time that I attended a Scrum Master certification with Jeff Sutherland, I will say a bad word. If you are thinking at shit, with Scrum, you will just deliver shit in a very efficient manner. The same with Kanban. So the point is, everything depends on your input. So if you're able to identify what is the value that you want to deliver to your customer, and you're able to bring it into words, then you can also try to deliver it very efficiently. But if you don't have it from the start, you will continue delivering bad things. And you see a lot of companies doing that today. So how do we define value? And this is my definition. Look, there is a lean definition that is what the customer are willing to pay for. I can tell you that is not wrong, is surpassed. You want to thrive in a business, you have to evaluate anything that customers are happy to pay for. And honestly, I can go backwards and see, look, to these slides. $500 fully subsidized, and then versus $99 does some music, does some internet, does instant messaging. So the Motorola Q is something that maybe customer is willing to pay for. The iPhone 1 is something that the customer learned to be happy to pay for at the time. Maybe today is different. I don't know. I still have iPhone, but that is the difference between happy to pay for and willing to pay for. I'm willing to pay for something because I'm hungry. I'm happy to pay for a fantastic, and Mark will laugh now, for a fantastic pizza or a fantastic, Damien, you were in Toulouse. No, Ray, you were in Toulouse. Fantastic entrecote in the entrecote restaurant in Toulouse. Why? Because I'm really happy because of that quality that is being delivered to me. And that is the value that I'm looking for. So happy to pay for is the first element. And the other element is, you see, put yourself in the customer shoes when the customer is king. So put yourself in the customer shoes in the brain of the customers, in the emotional brain of the customers. Now, how do you do that? And then a question, how do you do that, Mark? So what is your process? Is it a process or you just get it while sleeping? Like Newton with the apple on his head?
I don't think... There's a reason that in history there's always lots of people that are very close to inventing the same thing, right? So with multiple people who were working on the airplane, and the Wright brothers beat another team to it, and they went down in history as inventing it. And then like for a lot of like different technologies, that is the case. I also really like the example where Philips, they were like 2 years ahead of I think it was Sony in developing fully the remote control for TV, but they felt completely incapable of marketing it and explaining it to customers. So they left it ready for someone else to go and explain it to people. And as soon as someone else explained it successfully, they launched the product. So it's a process. Talking to customers, very, very important. Understanding actual problems that customers have is, and not just looking for an easy way to make a buck, is super important. At the end of the day, I don't know this for sure, but in the film of Steve Jobs, he got frustrated with his CD player and the cassette deck, and he thought there needs to be something better. Those like MP3 things back in the day, they were really, really shit. So they set out to go and develop something better because they really cared. They loved music. They cared about the problem as a user. And I personally always believe that it really helps if you're unable to be a user of your own product, or if you don't care about the product or the problem, it makes it infinitely harder to solve the issue. And other than that, there are loads of methodologies to go into, but that would be my high-level answer.
There is a very nice. I have a question for Nick, and I see a very nice comment from Yarev in the comments. Now, I will get to you, Yarev, on didn't Nokia try to put itself in the shoes of the customer? But let's pause that for just a second. It was a question for Nick. Customers are the only judges of value. Are customers always right then?
No, it's a simple answer. Right. Customers think they're right and they think they know better. In our world, a lot of our efforts go into educating customers as well, and often trying to understand what they need, but then also seeing how we can improve on what they need. Right. So sometimes it fits, sometimes it doesn't. But I think customers are the judge of value, because at the end of the day, they have to your point, they have to be happy, right?
Absolutely.
And I think they're willing to pay, and in our industry, they do pay a lot of money for things. It's not always they're not always happy at the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Gilbert, you have something related to this, and then I will go to Yarev.
I think so. The point that I really like the most from the slide is the simplicity. I think that today, and I think we can see this kind of all around, right? And of course, there are so many factors that are pushing products in different directions. One of them being revenue, others being kind of like market share. There are a lot of different goals at different stages of the company. But I think most companies, and I'm not going to say anything kind of philosophical here, right? But most companies kind of fail to understand that simplicity is what's going to make you win. I was listening to a podcast the other week, and I think it's estimated that in London, the average Londoner would come across 1,500 to 3,000 ads per day. 87% of those ads or brands that they come across, they can't even recall them. I think just 2 to 4% they actually have a positive connotation towards it. So businesses are spending, and like from my sector, right? So we're spending lots of money to try and push our brands, to try and push our products forward. But at the end of the day, today the competition is way more fierce than ever before, because you're not just simply competing with the people, with the companies in your sector, but you're actually competing for space in people's brains. And I think the focus still needs to be in doing a few things, but do them exceptionally well. And that's where we're seeing success, mainly through customer experience.
Absolutely. So let's go to Yarev, and then we will go further. I have an opinion about Nokia. I think that the question is fantastic, because didn't Nokia try to put itself in the shoes of the customer? Yes, try. process is an extremely complex process. It's extremely difficult to do it. Even if you are the smartest guy with the smartest customer feedback and you are engaging with them, trying to really get what the customer really would love paying for is an extremely difficult task. I think that they tried, they had a sense, but my personal opinion on Nokia is that, by the way, they were an agile company. They were, back in the days, Nokia was the company that was excelling and doing Scrum. They were having a lot of Scrum teams. So just one of those examples where delivery was very efficient. Their challenge, in my opinion, was the same as Microsoft. Nokia was a religion of making phones, mobile phones and hardware phones. So the best call. So today, Nokia is still there making all the devices for connecting phones, for repeaters, antennas, networks, still there. That was their background. That their religion was making phones, while the iPhone was a different thing. So moving from religion to another religion is an extremely complex thing to do. That is my opinion.
So I think there's some truth in that, but I think they were focused on customer success. They were focused on feedback from customers, etc. And they were constantly updating their phones and so on. But it was, and they focused on design of the phone. They were, rigid. I loved my Nokia originally, right? My 6310. But they didn't adapt fast enough, right? And so they lost completely, practically overnight. They lost the market, and then of course Microsoft, seeing, let's get into hardware, bought them, and then tried to do the Windows Phone, which we all know was not a very good success. Had a minor bit of success, and that failed as well. So you don't see them around much anymore either. So yeah, Nokia would probably refocused itself into doing accessories and other things. Not sure, but they're still there. Yes,
they're still there in the phone industry. In the phone,
they did value customers, but they didn't adapt. Is the issue? So the things changed and they didn't adapt fast enough.
But the challenge there is changing religion. So if you like, I will not go into real religion because we can start a debate. But going from mobile phones and networks to something else, because actually the smartphone is something else. It's not a phone anymore. It's changing religion, and changing religion from feature-based to customer experience-based devices is a totally different religion. Like the things that Chilis and socials do, like moving away from crypto to fan tokens. There are two different religions. They are based on the same concepts, but in my opinion, fan tokens are a different religion. Let's move forward. And so what is the process to do that? Simply, a lot of guys most probably know it here, is 4 steps. First of all, you have to at least to understand who are your customers. Who are your most important customers? Identify and prioritize. I don't know if a lot of companies and people really do that religiously. Let's use still this word, religiously. Then, something that Gilbert really loves, get to understand customer emotions, empathize with them, not understanding what they're thinking, but what are their emotions around something. And then finally, when you have all that information, try to get to understand what are the customer happy to pay for. This is a process. You will never get it right the first time, completely right. Maybe you will get there in many, many times. Now let's see how we have done it with socials and numerics. At least the first round of discussions. They do it much better internally, but let's do it. So game 1 is identify your customer and then prioritize them. Choose one customer and describe his characteristics. So here we have 3 companies. We have Numerics, Socials, and Vio. Vio, we will not treat it here because handle it here, but it's a different story. It's like Booking.com, but built on different concepts. We will have it we will have Martin the head of technology from Vaio with us in a masterclass that we'll arrange in a couple of weeks' time. So we will look also at that concept. So numerics and socios. So Mark and Gilbert, what are your customers? Who are your customers? Not what are, but are not things. Who are your customers?
I'd love to know exactly who they are, because like we can sell more to them. We have.
By the way, how difficult also is to understand who are your customers. You are building a new market. You have built.
No, exactly. Because at times, kind of, we take it for granted, right? So we refer to customers as if kind of they're ready for someone to take. When in reality, especially when you're launching a new market, when you're launching a product in a new market, you go out with an idea, which then starts kind of shape-shifting over time, and then starts adapting, and then new people come in and it starts kind of changing a bit, and then you kind of have an identity crisis, then you go back to, so it's not as linear as one kind of might think. But then again, I guess this is nothing new. But in our case, we're still finding, even though we say that we kind of like to find a mix between the football fans and kind of the crypto savvy ones. In reality, I think we need to make a distinction between, especially in products like ours, between users and customers, right? So our users today, they are actually sports fans, because the way it works and the way our app works, which, by the way, I'm gonna take this space, Michele, to also encourage the people that maybe are here to download the app, and also leave feedback on kind of what we'd like to see better, how we can do better marketing, how can we do better copy, so on and so forth. Be very happy to have that. But basically, the way it works is that the more you engage with the product, right? So the more you participate in club decisions, in games that we have, in in-app content that we put out, you get more points that get you access to more rewards, right? So we have a number of rewards, whether it's like VIP access and all the VIP boxes for all these clubs that I mentioned, meet and greet with the players, playing on the pitch, flying with the team, signed merchandise, dining out with whoever. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do. So of course, it's very interesting for the football fan. But we have these users that understand that very well. And then there's also kind of the crypto savvy users that understand them even better how it all works. And they find it easier kind of to navigate through the app and actually purchase fan tokens. So whilst we have a lot of users that would typically have a small amount of fan tokens, then of course our biggest customers are the crypto savvy ones, because they tend to get more fan tokens than the average user, right?
Fantastic. Mark, you want look at this dynamic. You cannot build a product. You need to understand value both in the product at corporate level, in the product team, and in the marketing team. You cannot do it separately. You cannot, and that is the great thing of Socios and Chiles, is that there is this strong synergy between marketing and product in trying to understand these are our customers. This is the product that we are building, the services that we are building, and this is the way we can address our users, customers, people that like us in the same way. So Mark, up to you, the product guy.
Yeah. So I mean, the product is to a large extent an extension of marketing. Within the product there's a lot of marketing to existing customers, which to an extent also overlaps with what Gilbert is showing to new people to try and convince them to get on the app. The thing that struck me also was, I don't think we have one customer, right? So we as we listed out here, we've got a couple of different types of customers who use our app and our product for completely different reasons. We're obviously still in the scale-up mode, so we are still very dependent on early adopters and people who effectively get it, which again is which is different, and who have different needs to the late majority. So, for example, in our case, the people when we launched our product, the fan tokens, you could do very little with them. But because you could already start to buy them, and we had this group of early adopters that got the concept and they saw the potential of it, they actually bought into it. And they made the company early on a success already, which gave us a lot more like capacity to hire a team and to go and build out the product further. But if we had started out with effectively a free to play engage with your team model, we would have not been successful, because part of the reason we're successful is because we're on the blockchain. It's a tradable item, and then on top of that, people got the vision as to where we're going to go, and actually being a badge of honor and connecting you more to your team. And then our customer also still, as Gilbert said, I would love to know who they are. It's not still people who, to an extent, get some aspects of crypto. They really are into either a specific team or a number of teams that they want to follow, or that is just frankly some of the very early adopters that are just getting the concept and thinking it will become massively successful and effectively speculating on us, which is not necessarily a segment we're actively targeting, but has helped us to be successful early on.
Okay, fantastic. You see how complex it is to understand who are your customer, who are you, at least ranking them. Yeah, most important, there are a lot of different customers, and rank them according to what customers you want to focus first. Nicholas, some words about your customers and numerics, and why risk managers at the moment, at least currently, the first round of discussions, are for you the most.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're a little bit different to Gilbert and Mark in the sense that numerics has been around for 20 years. So it transitions, these sort of technology changes that have happened, and the world changes that have happened as well. So we've been on a journey definitely for the last 5 years or so, of changing and adapting, trying to adapt to new ways, new technologies, new ways to deliver to clients, etc., and features. Embracing the cloud, embracing technologies like Snowflake and so on. So for us, it's a different world. We've always been in the world of valuation, where complex trades, complex structures, and financial packages, and acted as the go-to people, for the maths behind it. I mean, we even have hedge funds who do trade cryptos and have crypto portfolios. They come to us for valuation as well. I don't think anybody else in the world does that. So, we have a reputation from that perspective. So, yeah, investment bankers, traders come to us, risk managers in particular, because their job is to assess what the traders have done, what risks they're running against the bank's portfolio or capital assets. And they want to know that they're using the right models and the ones that are approved by the regulators. So, we've just had our models approved by the SEC in the States for one of our clients. We've been waiting 2 years for that approval. Right. So it's not a dynamic in that respect. But, we keep modeling this. We keep changing the model. We keep working with clients to enhance it. So we started off as an Excel add-in, and then we've moved into microservices, cloud technology, delivery on cloud, and so on. So it's a range. They're all financial. Our clients are all financial. We talk to them all the time. We go to shows and things like this. It's quite, in that respect, it's quite traditional. And a lot of referrals. People, moving from one company to another will come call us up.
So different kind of complexities. That is the interesting of this. Completely different companies and different scenarios. So Eric Paulino, Mark, and look, we are towards the end of the time. We try to, in 5 minutes, at most 10, if everyone can stay with us, to finalize at least the first round of presentation and have another 5 minutes of of questions. Then if you want to go in depth into this presentation, guys, please enroll for our masterclass in a couple of weeks time. By the way, Mark and Gilbert, just 2 words about your the description of your of who you think is your crypto enthusiast, football lover, customer user.
You want to go, Mark?
I was happy that you started talking, to be honest.
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, what's interesting is it has a bachelor's in marketing. Yeah, the thing is that what we're finding as well is that especially the under 25s, right? They're getting closer to the world of crypto fintech from very, very early on. So they're coming out kind of after 18, knowing kind of how that side works, not necessarily being kind of a fully crypto savvy person, but they understand kind of the dynamics more or less. There's still, however, a lot of education that we need to do, and that we are doing, and we need to be doing more, because the sweet spot is always going to be when we find that intersection, right, between the football fan or the sports fan and the crypto enthusiast. And that is why we're also seeing kind of in countries such as Brazil and Turkey, for instance, a very high take-up rate. Why? Because these are territories that that kind of follow both with almost kind of the same kind of attention. So they're ingrained since they're kids into like following football. I actually came from Istanbul this morning, and you could see, right? So I was walking down the Bosphorus yesterday, and you could see people like selling food on stalls, but they actually had their mobile and they were watching City. I don't know who City were playing yesterday, I forgot. But people kind of, they have football in their veins, and we need to keep looking for these kind of people, because what's going to happen is that over time they're going to get the new generation that's coming up is going to get closer to crypto, because crypto is going to is kind of getting deeper and deeper into society.
Fantastic. Let's move forward to the next one, so that, because we don't have a lot of time yet. Sarah Mitchell, our risk manager. Nick, 2 words about that. How did we come with this persona?
Well, I think the critical client for us is the risk manager. They are the ones who need us most, and they always are kind of, I think, our first step into a lot of institutions, because they're responsible for the exposure of the organization. Also, because depending on how much they're exposed, it can affect working capital, how much money they have to put with the central banks, and all sorts of things like this. So it's a huge responsibility, as well as a viability aspect from the institute. So this is where Sarah comes in. So she's very much in a demanding role, right? She's quite key to the organization, and she has to be very analytical, detailed, but a leader as well. So it's a unique combination of skills.
Fantastic. So knowing that now they have created these 2 fictitious characters that embody the customer that we should try to understand better. Now, this doesn't say that we know everything about these customers. The good thing will be to talk to them, talk to a lot of people that embody the characteristics of these 2 customer personas, to see if we are right or wrong. But at least till this point, to game 1, we have identified our customers, and we have described who our customers are. And we can start putting ourselves in the shoes of the customer in a way or the other. And this, a tool from design thinking, empathy maps, is clearly essential. So Eric Pallino, this strange name that is half Dutch, half Italian, but what are his emotions? What does he think, this guy? What are his thoughts? Mark or Gilbert?
So it's clearly someone that cares deeply about his team, his football team, and is busy with it, right? So it's the guy that the day after the match is talking about the match, is moaning about the wrong decision the manager made, what we should be doing next match, and then frankly would love to have the opportunity to do more with the team, because right now, or prior to socials coming in, people were effectively limited to wearing a jersey, painting their face, going to a match, or watching it on TV, and maybe discussing it with their mates. And what they're feeling is they would love to be recognized by the team as like official fan. They would love to get involved in a reasonable way. So most fans understand that they're not going to be the 12th player on the pitch, but they would like to basically voice their opinion and be heard to an extent. Then with us, it's also very important that we live in the modern day and age. So Eric is listening to his friends. They're talking about crypto. What is it? What is this opening up in terms of modern possibilities? And then what I also like to an extent is that crypto is also for the young generation a little bit anti-establishment. It's the new money. It's doing things differently. Which I think also plays into the curiosity of people getting into fan tokens and becoming a customer. Gilbert?
And just one last thing, which is not here, and it's very important to note, is that especially for football, in sports in general, but football mainly, we're seeing that the attention span is decreasing, right? So there's the rise of the second screen experience, which is becoming way more important. To be fair, I find myself as well that during games, even during the game, like either I'm messaging a friend still about the game, but when the game gets boring, you kind of have somewhere else to look, and that's also very important, because it's gonna change things quite dramatically in the space over the next couple of years.
So you see, just by talking about that, we get to another insight about the guy, and that is really putting ourselves in the customer's shoes. Just for sake of time, I cut it here, and then I go to Sarah Mitchell with Dick, and then we will finalize with the value of socials and also just the value of Nikos. So what kind of value, what do we think value is for both companies, at least targeted to these user personas?
Yeah, I didn't.
Just in your words, what do you think Sarah Mitchell believes, thinks, and feels? What is her?
I think it's change, right? Constant change and constant pressure. So, in our world, constant change from regulatories, the pressure on the banking systems, the negative view in the public on bankers and financial crises and mortgage rates and interest rates and inflation and all this sort of stuff. The financial industry gets blamed for it all, and the governments who actually cause it just get away with it. So it's those sort of things that Sarah Mitchell will be worried about. What's the next change? What's the next thing I've got to do? Yeah.
And by the way, something while we were talking about risk managers, I really remember that a long time ago, I think maybe 10 years ago, I watched a movie where the main character was a comedy, where the main character was a risk manager, someone for insurance that was calculating all the risks of something happening. So his whole world was around calculating what happens if you cross the street at this time during the day in this place. And this guy was extremely conscious about the risks that he was following. He was never doing something if he was not calculating the risk. This is an exaggeration for a comic movie, but I think that is what we are trying to do here, is really to just put ourselves in build that character so that we can try to understand what are the things that are attracting him. So we were going the value. So what is the value that customer is happy to pay for? Eric Paulino. So Mark and Gilbert. We don't have to go into details, but what is for this guy?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of pain relievers, I mean, that's kind of quite clear that fans up till now, up till a few years ago. So first and foremost, 99% of fans are never at the stadium, right? So even though teams and clubs are and were and keep going global, there's still a bias, of course, towards those people that make it to the stadium. Of course, there are international fans that visit these games a week. Periodically, but of course there's the local fan base that has a better chance in doing that. I think what we're doing and the pain that we're trying to alleviate here is that we're getting the fans closer to the teams they love, and that we do that by giving them exclusive access that they could never get before. I mean, today it's not that you can go on any site and say, listen, I'm gonna go and book together with my friends VIP access at the Tottenham Stadium, which is one of the best and most modern stadiums there are in the world. You can't simply do that anywhere, right? So we're actually giving that possibility. Also, that the fans feel that they spend so much of their time and so much of their valuable time, right? So you see people that kind of cut their wedding short because there's a match of their favorite team, or they're during a wedding and you see a big screen because there's a World Cup kind of being played, right? So people are crazy about the sport they love, and then they feel, and today the modern fan feels that they need to be more participative in what the clubs are deciding, and that they're recognized for doing so. So then the game creators are definitely the rewards, the status of myself being kind of a super fan, getting that early access or getting that early know-how of what's going to come next, but also the cross-pollination towards other sports. So we always, most of us at least, have their favorite sport, but then they would follow another sport, right? So whether it's Formula One, whether it's fighting, or the other way around. I think that cross-pollination is something that as a platform is creates value and adds value to the overall experience.
Fantastic. So that is more or less, that is really the first round of this process, to get to an understanding of what will be valuable, or what is valuable for you, one of your customers. At this stage, you still identify the most important customer, that is Eric Paulino, that has this, that describes more or less that kind of segment of customers that you are servicing. So let's do it. Oh, Sarah Mitchell, we didn't fill it in, I forgot. But in your words, if you had to provide value that Sarah Mitchell is happy to
I did fill it in a little bit.
Okay, sorry.
But it's all right. It's okay. In terms of the value side of things, where is it? I have it here. So, yeah, I mean, the pain relievers for her is, just from our solution is to alleviate her kind of the regulatory reporting, the processing of these informations. I mean, repricing all these trades can take hours sometimes, depending on computational aspects. How many machines, how many cores you have. They take literally, some of them take hours to process. It's about crisis management as well. So these are the things that they're trying to avoid all the time. What happens if we have another financial crash? What happens if the Bank of England goes under? What happens if the SEC goes under? It's all these kind of modeling and risk, and to your point, probabilities is a factor, right? Around the world. So for her, it's making sure the gain aspect is just regulatory acceptance. It's sure she's covered and her firm is covered, and she can make the right decision.
So we will share the complete slides. Now there was a mistake; we didn't got this update from people. Sorry for that. So because we changed the slides at the last minutes. But that is more or less that is the process. Getting to these slides. So putting yourself in customer shoes and trying to get an idea and share it across all the members of your team, marketing, product developers. If you have that really clear in your mind and in your words, that helps to think at possibilities, things that could help market the product and the service better, that could help sell the product and the service better, that could help the customers in all the ways that they need to be helped.